Hi, this is Daniel Wilder here. I was exhorted recently to talk more about anthropology and social anthropology. So here I am, sitting in my apartment room in the city of Dhaka, Bangladesh, in the area of Shyamoli. And you can still hear the traffic outside. It's a very populous city, and there's lots of traffic at all times of day. In fact, during the day, the traffic sometimes moves so slowly it is about the same speed to walk as it is to drive a car or to take a taxi. So some of the challenges of industrialization and these two great forces that Emmanuel Wallerstein talks about in terms of having a developing free market capitalistic style of economy. So those two things are urbanization and proletarianization, and both of them are happening at a historic rate in Bangladesh right now. Proletarianization has to do with the transference of the workforce over to especially industrial style, factory style workers, but also other kind of capitalist formal divisions of labor style jobs. So that's proletarianization, is essentially becoming a proletarian. And who are becoming proletarians? Well, the people don't just come out of thin air, there's not a pottery shop down the street where they're making new people. No, they come from the countryside. And that is the urbanization aspect, where the farmers are moving from what is more technically called peasant labor or peasant lifestyle of primarily self-subsistence farming. And there is trade in the countryside, and there is trade with peasant farmers, but it's generally not there's not an enormous amount of surplus production, and there tends to not be this excess production that's produced and then reinvested like in capitalism. So that's why this is a very major development for the entire country, that there's urbanization going on, because that means the cities, especially the capital city of Dhaka, is growing at an exponential rate. It's one of the fastest growing megacities in the world right now. And that's one of the reasons why to drive some places takes about the same amount of time as to walk. The traffic is just absurd. There was a scene recently where the mayor of North Dhaka was standing next to some damaged public infrastructure, and he was talking to the media, and he was saying, who knows what the solution is? Does anybody know? Like, he's asking the question because some of these problems of the population growing so quickly are such massive problems that they're very difficult to solve. And especially because Bangladesh is a new country, and it doesn't have highly developed public infrastructure in certain ways. Like, the government has less development than most Western governments people are used to, and so that means many different things. It's a little harder to ensure fairness in the business world and the private sector. There's maybe a little less justice in the court system, and of course justice is something that every country struggles with in different ways. And it can also mean that the people and the country can be a little more vulnerable to being hijacked by foreign investors or big money people. So that's urbanization and proletarianization, which is happening at a record rate in Bangladesh. And it's fascinating to see. And if you go and you interview a lot of people here, you'll find that a lot of people living in the city are first generation in the city, second generation in the city. And you'll see that it's very easy to go right outside and find tons of farmland Whereas, you go back to a place like Boston, where I'm from, Boston, Massachusetts, and you have to drive a couple hours out of the city before you find huge swaths of farmland, because a lot of it is suburbs, a lot of it is just former farms that are just no longer profitable as farms or needed as farms. And you can see that there's a real different diversity here, where there's a lot more emphasis on farming in the economy. Another thing I wanted to mention is this distinction that it's not really common knowledge right now, but it's a very useful distinction, and I think that this is one that you can really appreciate if you're someone who observes culture, if you're someone who's interested in understanding society. And that's this division of social groups. So we often talk about the differences in countries, we talk about the differences in religions, but for the most part, this is only happening on a tribal level. So the American tribe, the Bangladeshi tribe, the blah, blah, blah. And then these are like formal tribes. These are like the government tribes, country tribes. And sometimes a country is actually made up of multiple tribes or multiple sub-tribes. So inside, if you divide it religiously, Bangladesh is 91% Muslim tribe, 8% Hindu tribe, 1% Christian tribe. But in another sense, they're all part of the same tribe. So these are more like factions within the tribe. Because you go to a Muslim, you go to a Hindu, they all consider themselves Bangladeshi, and they all consider themselves as part of the Bangladeshi tribe. Next level down, though, and this is where we don't usually talk about it, next level down you have your clan, but you have your personal social network, which is all of the individuals and all of the people that you're personally connected to. And this is within the tribal framework. So you probably have 100 people that you're kind of closely connected to on the scope of 100 people. And then maybe 10,000 people that you're kind of indirectly connected to, or lightly, casually connected to. And beyond that, you basically don't have any interaction with anyone beyond that. Now, it could be a little different if you're popular, you're a media star, you have social media following, something like that. But you don't really have relationships with people necessarily who are following you, who are fans of yours. So that they're not really part of your social network. Beneath their social network, which is a subset of the tribe, you have the tribe, then you have the social network, your social network below that. Then you have your clan, and your clan is your family, is your extended family. That's the people that you take social cues from. That's the people that you learn your social skills from. That's the people that are generally taking care of you. So mostly it's genetic, and then also it can be about really strong bonds of familial friendship as well. But most people in your social network are not gonna show up on Christmas. They're not gonna show up for your birthday party. But of course, there is definitely some overlap there, and there's always room for some overlap. And that can be a really rich thing to happen. So you have your tribe, where you could, consider this as your pool for recruiting people to your networking event. All of your combined opportunities to meet people can then turn into your personal network, and then your personal network is who you basically, almost by definition, the only place you could meet someone to marry, the only person you could meet someone to have a really, really close friendship with, where you become like a family together. So naturally it makes sense that that clan level is the next level that's adjacent to that, on a more basic level, of course. And then below the clan, you have the individual family unit. And this is really your, it's usually about 3 to 5 people, sometimes maybe 7 people. And, you can have a bigger family, but I'm talking, this is probably 90% of families are 3 to 7 people. So, this is about, this is your family unit, and this has a completely different type of dynamic than your clan. The difference between, a family meeting of just, 2 parents, a couple of kids, 2, 3 kids, 4 kids, 5 kids, whatever. And the difference between that and, a birthday party or a Christmas party where your entire family is there. So there's obviously very different dynamics here. And it's possible to have a tremendous amount of harmony on any of these levels, from the first level, the basic level, which is this family unit. And really this family unit, they're in it together, they're surviving together. And in this sense, it's almost the definition of codependency, but without all the connotations that brings, because codependency in a family setting is this family is working together, this family is succeeding together, this family is surviving together, this family is helping each other out to get by and to get on. And then on the next level you have the clan, which is, conceptually is made up of a lot of different families, a lot of different family units, and then a lot of different, in the modern day, some individual units as well. People who don't get married, people who are, in a stage of life where they might be young and they're exploring, or they might be old and they're divorced or widowed or widower. So there are a lot of different situations you can be in. Traditionally most people are in family units, and then they're also in the clan unit as well. And sometimes the family units, this is less common in the West in the modern day, but oftentimes family units will take in these other members that aren't either children or having children. So, the elderly, the young adults, the single people, they'll be kind of part of one of these family units in a sort of de facto setting. And it just makes sense, right? It makes sense, but that's a way of thinking about it. So, if you have your family unit and you your aunt that always comes to your Christmas events, just to celebrate it with your family, she's kind of like a member of your family, even though, the genetic component is not so specific, but, it's very easy to stretch it. And in that sort of case, if she has that relationship with your family, she's probably treated in many ways just like, your family. She would be receive many of the same advantages and, respect as being part of your family. So then this next level you have is the clan. This is made up of many different individual family units. But this word family is sometimes used to apply on this individual unit level. Sometimes it means on the clan level. So the family in terms of the clan is the greater family. It could be everyone who shares the same last name in the city. It could be, there could be many, many families associated with this name. It depends a lot. Some Thanksgiving dinners I've been to have been 100 people in the same clan. 100 people with the same, often, generally the clan, they have common ancestry. Maybe there's a patriarch, matriarch. There was one set of great-grandparents that, spawned all these, that had kids, and they had kids, and they had kids, and all of the kids and grandkids and great grandkids know each other, and that's a type of really cohesive clan. And then, of course, you have smaller clans. You have clans that break off from each other, that kind of maybe merge with each other sometimes, depending on various circumstances and factors. But these more or less exist all around the world. These are more or less human nature. So I would call this the subject of social anthropology, and you can think about how it's kind of expressed differently in different cultures, and how, if you send someone like, say, an elderly person into a particular situation where they might be lacking some of this, they might have like a kind of a de facto clan in a retirement home, but maybe not like an actual family unit. There might be problems where that's not actually healthy for them, because they're kind of missing that fundamental piece of being human, which is that human beings, we operate on a family unit level, we operate on a clan level, we operate on a personal network level, we operate on a tribal level, and then of course we can operate beyond that on like a corporate enterprise level. We can operate on a social citizen level, someone who is drawn to their own to making their own difference in this world and fulfilling their unique impact in this world. And then maybe even roles beyond that, fulfilling their complete possible potential, fulfilling their complete potential, evolving to their fullest expression. So now we can talk about what types of social arrangements and networks are included in those higher levels, but that's really much more complex. For now, just take this in: the family unit, the clan unit, the personal network unit, the tribal unit. And the tribal unit is pretty much the largest unit that most of us deal with on a daily basis. This will be very different for the young generations and, of course, the coming generations, because globalization means that we're not confined to one country anymore. Many and more people over time will be traveling. We'll have relationships and interactions with people all around the world, and there will not be such a confined culture that sticks to one particular area. You will still have roots. You'll still have families that have roots in areas, but many more families will decide to uproot, to move, to travel. There will be more options available. We'll begin to colonize other planets. We'll begin to, we'll actually be building probably underwater cities. We'll be building floating cities. We'll be colonizing different portions of the earth that are currently uninhabitable. And of course, planets and meteors. So this is all very exciting. I'm very excited about this. So those are some interesting possibilities awaiting for us in the future. For now, this is Daniel Wilder in Shaimoli, Dhaka, Bangladesh. Hope you enjoyed that. Signing off.